Today on Conversations That Convert, we're going to talk about the top 3 builder sales mistakes in 2022 and what you can do about it. Let's get started.
Welcome to Conversations That Convert. Every week, we'll spend about 10 to 15 minutes tackling relevant lead generation, marketing, and sales topics for remodelers, home improvement companies, and home builders. Conversations That Convert is brought to you by Builder Lead Converter, your perfect sales assistant. And now, here's Rick and Diana.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Diana. How are you today?
Hi, hello everyone. I'm very well, thank you.
Well, nice to see you again, Diana, and you are looking very well. The
Thank
sun is
you.
shining. Your home looks beautiful again. Happy to have you on the show. So, what are we talking about today, Diana?
Today we're talking about builder sales mistakes in 2022, and we're focusing on the top three.
The top 3, yes. There's plenty, but we don't want to list them all because that would be too negative. But we're going to talk about the top 3, and most importantly, what you can do about them. So let's just give a quick overview and set the stage here for this topic. We have 3 main issues that we're dealing with today. So we have a supply chain challenge, we have a labor shortage, and we have pricing volatility. So all of these things combined have really uprooted our traditional sales process for builders, home builders, and remodelers. So we're going to talk about the top 3 mistakes, the critical mistakes that you really should be aware of and correct as soon as possible. And this is all part of our series, which is called The Cost of Poor Communication. And this is we started our first episode last week. So if you didn't watch that, go ahead, jump back in and check that one out. And those are the top 3 online lead conversion mistakes. And so now we're getting into more of the sales process. So this is my bread and butter. This is where I cut my teeth years and years ago. And it's interesting in that talking with a few clients the other day. We've been around in this business. I'm 30 plus years. They've been around a long time. None of us have seen anything like what's going on here today. So if this is something that you haven't already implemented or are the mistake that you're making, don't feel bad because a lot of builders have felt the pain of this. So Dan, what do you say? Should we jump into the top 3 mistakes?
Let's jump in.
Let's
Yes.
do it. All right. So drum roll, please. Mistake number 1 is poor or no qualifying calls. So let's just pause for a second. Just to full disclosure, I know most of you are probably talking to people on the phone, which is fantastic, before you ever jump out and do a site visit or perhaps do a face-to-face, set up a face-to-face meeting. I know it doesn't happen all the time, but best practices is always have a phone call up front where you can qualify. Now I always used to say there's 7 primary areas where you need to qualify. I'm not going to get into that specifically, but what we're going to talk about right now is how qualified on the phone has changed based on some of the issues that we are dealing with. Okay, so a couple of things I see out there as far as mistakes being made is a lack of a realistic budget set up front. Lack of a realistic budget set up front. Because prices have climbed so high so quickly, it's difficult to tell our leads up front, just sort of what sort of budget they need to have in order to do the project that they are considering. It's one of those things where maybe we want to cheat down more than we really should. And if we don't set that realistic budget up front, it's going to come back and going to haunt us down the line. So Diana, I know you've had some experience in this as well, but what else are your thoughts on this one?
Well, when I hear you talking, my mind goes to, like, it's more like, for me it's more like, it sounds like it's like more like a vaccination call, when you just say upfront what and what are the possibility and what's happening in the real world and what we experience, so that the client can approve or acknowledge, or just say, okay, I know what's happening, and I'm willing to move forward with you in this journey, and let's see what wants to happen. So, and with all the context, the idea of vaccination came to mind. So how about vaccinate our clients?
Yeah, it's a good point. It's like a good news, bad news. We want to start with the good news and sort of, you know, take the bad news and sweep it under the rug. We need to start with the bad news. The bad news is this is a realistic budget that it's going to take to get this done. That is not good news. And if we can get over that, then we can start talking about more good news, such as, yes, that you can complete the project, that they are a good fit, so on and so forth. But we need to start with the bad news first, is that this is really a realistic budget for what it's going to take. The other thing that I noticed in this mistake is expectations being set for timelines and pricing volatility or price increases. So case in point, Diana, was talking to a client of mine just today, and he had a big remodeling project. It was 1.3, $1.4 million. He talked to the client in November for the first time. He wasn't able to present pricing until probably May. So let's just say it was a 6-month delay. And he went back and he looked at all of the different costs associated with that as it related to materials and labor to do that project. And he went back line by line and he found that there was a range of an increase in price from the time he first talked to that client in November. 6 months later, prices had gone up for all the different facets of that project from anywhere from 2% to 100% price increases. 100% price increases. And of course, you say 100% price increases. How could that have happened? Well, of course, it's because of the supply chain. Things aren't available, and then prices continue to go up. Not necessarily that it was a true price increase. So we have to be really diligent at letting our clients know that if it takes you 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180 days before you actually are going to order the materials and be able to lock in your prices from the initial call, we have to tell them that there is a very good chance, a high probability chance, that your prices for this project are going to go up a certain percentage. And the same thing for timelines. To let them know you cannot start the project for a certain amount of time, that you will not be able to be enjoying or living in the project for a certain amount of time. Again, it's more that good news, bad news, and we have to give them that bad news up front. What do you think about that, Diana?
I think it's the best way to do it, and to really qualify the client if they want to take responsibility for for the project and be a partner. I see it more like to be a partner in the project and co-create together the partnership with
Very,
good
very
bad.
true. Yeah, very true. It's a collaboration, right? So the guy always say it's a collaboration between the client's budget, between your design capabilities, and obviously your expertise in managing the project. So there's a 3-point collaboration that's going on here. Budget is they're going to have a little bit more leeway and a little bit more flexibility with their budget. And also it's so important that you have to develop that trust up front. So I think there is something very valuable of giving them the bad news up front and just hitting them with the reality and saying, look guys, I'm not trying to screw you over. I'm not trying to be dishonest, but I cannot give you a hard price because I can't get a hard price from our vendors. And so we won't know that until we get to this point at this time, and then we'll be able to solidify your pricing. If you can work with sort of a range, a budget range up to that point, we're a good fit. But if you need to know right now what the price is, I'm sorry, we're probably not the best fit, and we got to move on.
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right. What's the mistake number two?
Mistake number 2 is taking on the wrong client. So there's a couple of items here. Number 1 is you got to make saying no a top priority today. Top priority today. It is taking on the wrong client can lead to a catastrophic mistake in two areas. Number 1 is we already know what happens when we take on the wrong client. It is emotional draining. It's emotionally draining during the design process. It's emotionally draining during the production process. It's emotionally draining during the warranty process. So you're going to be married to this person for 2+ years between warranty, building, and designing this project. So this is huge when we are so stressed as far as it takes longer than ever to get estimates done. It takes longer than ever just to find the right labor. If you can't keep your trades busy enough, sometimes they leave, go other places, then you're trying to find other places. There's just so much going on. It's so difficult to run a business right now, let alone keeping your margins up. There's so much opportunity for margins to erode with our clients, and while these projects take longer and longer to complete. So if we take on the wrong client, yes, it's emotionally draining, but also there's a huge opportunity cost, because of what that means is that we missed the right client. So saying no upfront and being very quick about it. Don't drag it out. Don't say, well, I'm getting some red flags here, but let's just meet with them first. Let's go look at the project first. Let's do some pricing first. Let's do a drawing first. Maybe I can win them over. When you get those red flags, it's so important that you say no upfront and move on to the next client. What say you, Diana?
And I'm wondering how you know it's the wrong client. What are the red flags?
I think the red flags is that we start with the bad news, like we just talked about.
Oh,
So the bad news is that the price is going to be higher 3, 6, 5, 3, 6, 4 months from now when we start the project than it is now. And your timeline is going to be delayed. There are going to be, you know, certain parts of your project where there's going to be nothing happening for quite a while. And that's usually because we have to order items to get it on site, permitting process, engineering, design, whatever it is, but there's going to be long delays because high demand and we just don't have as much labor as possible. So when you have clients saying that they're not willing to wait, they want a price right now, they want it fixed in, they're going to question you up and down when something does come in a higher price. Those are the red flags that you're going to want to, you know, move on from. Now, there are legitimate questions, right, Diana? It's like, okay, help me understand how that went up. Okay, Mr. Client, well, you added this, and this. And since we first started talking and I gave you that initial budget to now, the price of those materials and labor have gone up this percentage. You combine the two, and that's why you're higher. Most people will understand that. Okay, part of it was me, part of it was the market going up. But the people that don't understand it, they say, well, you told me, Diana, it would be this much, and now it's this much. So no, I'm not paying the difference. Those are the type of people you want to avoid.
right. It's very good to know and to listen to your intuition when you see those red flags.
Exactly. It's just people being unrealistic people that want to set their expectations, or they want to impart their expectations versus your expectations. Those are the people you need to say no to. And fortunately, we're in a strong enough market where that's okay. If you have a good enough backlog of leads, you can say no, and then you can bring the next lead forward and work them into your client acquisition.
Yeah, that's very helpful conversation, and thank you for sharing. I think it's good to know where to pay attention to and uh, what to be aware of when you're this have a conversation.
Yep, exactly. The bad news.
And the mistake number three,
Mistake number 3 is where I think this is something that we have to look at ourselves, is the mistakes that we've made and that the final price is presented too quickly. And what I mean by that is that we always are getting, when our leads come to us, they are asking 3 things. And it's typically, well, what's it going to look like from a design standpoint? They want to know if they're building a home, where it's going to be built, so the lot or community. And then finally, they want to know how much it's going to cost. So there's a lot of pressure on us to say, tell me how much, how much, how much. And they want to know the price. And we as humans, we're naturally inclined to want to serve our customers. And so oftentimes we will give a price too quickly, or we don't put the asterisk next to it. And I even hear stories right now, is like whenever we give people a range, people fixate on that low number of the range. One of the ideas I had is like, when you give people a range, give them the high number first. So
yeah,
if the range is 75 to $100,000, instead of saying 75 to 100, say, well, it could be as much as $100,000. It could be as low as $75,000. It depends on this, and this. So give them the high number first. It's just one idea you can do, but they tend to focus on the first number. But the final price being presented too quickly is normally where we're going against our best practices. We're going against the customer is pushing us to get a price, so we give them the price. Then of course what happens is there's delays,
yeah,
labor, supply chain delays, and the price goes up. And then we have to go back to them and we have to give them a price. So pricing new price, excuse me. Pricing volatility is killing solid deals. That deal that you had that you're working forward, and all of a sudden they fall out of bed, it's killing solid deals. Now, I contend is that most of the time the issue is a price is presented too quickly and then it increases, causing a lack of trust with the client. So that goes back to we have to work with people that are willing to be patient and are willing to stay within a range. And when we exceed that range, then that's on us to come back and say, okay, this is why it exceeded. Okay, number one, you changed the scope of the project. You added this, 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 and this to our initial discussion. The second point is, like my client just said, prices went up between 2% and 100% in the last 6 months. That's just the reality of the market. Oh, well, when will the prices go down? I do not know. My crystal ball is broken. But I can, all I could tell you is that if something goes down here, when you think, oh, that's a good thing, like people are folks fixated on lumber futures, they're thinking, I'll wait till the lumber goes down. They're not considering all the other items that are going up that are offsetting that price decrease. So they're really not saving anything by waiting.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the things I learned early on is when people told me they wanted to wait to get a better price, is that I told them is that historically, the only thing that waiting gains you is an erosion of your buying power. The only thing you're gaining by waiting is an erosion of your buying power, which means your dollar tomorrow is always going to buy less than it does today. So it's something that you should learn and talk about with your customers. If a lead, very simply, if a lead can't wait to get the price, then they're the wrong lead. You got to move on. Because you don't have a choice right now. You have to work with people that have some flexibility there. What do you think, Diana?
Yeah, I agree. So, and what you're saying is that, so it's important to notice together what we notice. Like, okay, it seems that the price are going up, and historically, when they go up, they never go down, right? So, if you want to wait, just if you need to remodel your house or build your house, just do it. Do it now, because now it's the right moment. So,
Well, and ultimately, with the motivation between people building a home or remodeling a home, it's a lifestyle choice.
yeah.
They want to be able to live in their home a certain way. They want it to look and feel a certain way. They want to be able to do specific activities in their home that they cannot do right now. And by delaying, it doesn't get them any closer to establishing that lifestyle that they are after. So people always they buy emotionally and then they justify that decision logically. So the logic part comes down to the price. And so you have to help them logically justify moving ahead. And part of that logic is look, it's going to cost more next year. If interest rates go up, guess what? Your buying power goes down. You're going
um,
to be, you're going to be spending more to borrow the same amount of money if you're borrowing money here. So you just have to help them with that logical justification, and that usually comes through numbers, through finance, and through just talking about their buying power.
that's so true. So, thank you for sharing. So, those are the three top sales mistakes.
Absolutely. So if you're making any one of those or all three of them, there's hopefully some helpful tips on what adjustments you can make. But thank you so much for your time here today. And if you wanted to find out more about how we can free up time for you so you can focus on larger, more profitable jobs, go ahead and schedule your strategy call today. For my brothers and sisters in Christ, may the Lord, well, excuse me, may the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with you all. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.